Friends, have you ever been absolutely certain of one of your past memories, knowing that that's exactly how it played out according to your memory? Whether it's a past movie, past television series, or even a product, only to discover that it actually never happened the way you recall, or at least you're being told or even shown that it didn't happen the way you recall. Friends, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world are waking up to the same question, especially for some reason, Gen Xers. Why does it seem like they're picking on Gen Xers, making it look like we're crazy? What is this all about? What could it be called? Well, perhaps you heard the term before. It's referred to as the Mandela Effect. Why are our memories suddenly rewriting themselves? Some people believe it was the Berenstain Bears, where I grew up knowing it was the Berenstain Bears. Some people believe that, it's Luke, I am your father. They're telling us it's something completely different now, friends. Completely different. This is all part of the Mandela Effect. Is the Mandela Effect us shifting into parallel realities? Or is it just false memories? False memories that really seem to be targeting Gen Xers more than anything. Today, we're going to explore these realities. I'm going to let you know exactly what is actually happening. This is a deep dive into the Mandela Effect. So what exactly is the Mandela Effect? Where did it all begin and how do we describe it? Well, the Mandela Effect is this collective phenomenon where very large groups of people, mainly Gen Xers for some reason or another, remember events, names, or facts differently than recorded history is actually showing us. The term Mandela Effect was coined by Fiona Broome, who vividly remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. Something millions of people swore and recalled the same exact history. Yet, history is now telling us and insists that Nelson Mandela lived to 2013. I want to know what you think in the comments down below. Is this a shared false memory? Or is this evidence of some type of a parallel shift that has been occurring or has occurred? Maybe it's occurred multiple times. I want to know, did you remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s? Comment below. Let's see how many of us actually share that same exact memory. And the memory that launched off this whole thing that's now called conspiracy, referred to as the Mandela Effect. Something's definitely shifted. And we're going to talk all about that thoroughly today. Here's just some of the very classic examples of the memories, and I remember them all completely different than history's telling us. Again, I want to know what you think in the comments down below. Here's a little side-by-side comparison. Is it memory versus reality? Was it the Berenstain Bears? Or was it the Berenstain Bears? I know many of us, including myself, I had those books, and I remember those books being called the Berenstain Bears. And there's actually proof and evidence that people still have copies of these books. I'll show you that in just a little bit. Many remember, of course, the Steen at the end, not Stain. And they're telling us it's always been Berenstain Bears. No, I beg to differ with that. Again, there's evidence that lies behind that shows the difference between the two. Then we have Star Wars, a movie that I must have watched 100 times or more when we were kids especially. It was the biggest movie of the 70s, the biggest ever. And I remember Luke, I am your father. Luke, I am your father. How do you remember that? Do you remember it as Luke, I am your father? Because now they're showing us something completely different.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. No, I am your father.
How do you remember it? I know how I remember it. And again, it was Luke, I am your father. We even had the Darth Vader masks, and you press the button and it said it. Luke, I am your father. So I don't know what they're telling us, but it's not what really happened in the timeline that I grew up in. How about you? How do you remember it? How do you remember the Monopoly Man? Remember the Monopoly Man? How can we forget him? I played that Monopoly game hundreds of times growing up. I was not always good at it, but sometimes I was good at it. I remember the Monopoly Man as having a monocle, yet there's no monocle. No monocle at all. And here's the side-by-side. And there's proof, again, people have the old games with the Monopoly man with the monocle. But they're telling us no monocle. What do you think? And then there's Fruit Loops versus Fruit Loops. Was it fruit like fruit off a tree? Or was it fruit with 2 double O's? Compare the cereal boxes. Fruit Loops or Fruit Loops? Which one do you remember? That was one of my favorite cereals as a kid growing up. Which one's which? Which one do you remember? Our taste buds remember differently, apparently. And then there's the mirror, mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
We used to always say that as kids, especially little girls with their little mirrors that they had. They used to do it all the time. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Well, that's not how it played out, apparently. Apparently, it's magic mirror on the wall. Magic mirror.
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
That's what Snow White says. Oh, that's what it said. She says in the movie Snow White. What do you remember? Again, I remember
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
magic mirror just doesn't even sound right. Doesn't sound right at all. Magic mirror on the wall? No. Then there's the whole conspiracy, we could say, wrapped around Febreze. Was it Febreze? Or was it Febreze? Look at the difference in the spelling. And look at the difference in the old ones compared to the new ones. Which one do you remember it being? Now, we also have Kit Kat. Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that. Kit Kat. But you remember Kit Kat being with or without a hyphen in between the two. I recall a hyphen in between the Kit and the Kat. Yet now today they say there's no hyphen that exists. Instead it's just Kit Kat, one straight word, no hyphen. Now there's also, we can even look at the map of the world where we see the location of New Zealand. New Zealand, some swear that it was northeast of Australia, not southeast. What do you remember? Especially our friends in New Zealand. What do you remember? Do you remember New Zealand being, especially again, Gen Xers? I really want to know what you see. Now, I was a big fan of Scooby-Doo. Of course, the mysteries, the ghosts, the spirits. Of course, I was a huge fan. I was also a huge fan of the Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew Mysteries. But Scooby-Doo was it. Scooby-Doo was the bomb growing up. And I remember very clearly Shaggy having this big Adam's apple that stuck out on the cartoon. And you see it here. But you see, now they show us that Shaggy never had a big Adam's apple sticking out. What do you think, friends? I think it's all pretty crazy. And I think there's a lot more to this than they're actually telling us, of course. And they all know, the globalists, they know what's going on. I know what's going on too, and I'll explain that to you in a bit. What other memories do you have that don't align with current history? I want to know again in the comments down below. Another popular one was the Fruit of a Loom label. I grew up, Fruit of a Loom was a big thing in the 70s and early 80s. A lot of Fruit of the Loom commercials. And I remember them commercials very clearly. And there was a cornucopia on the label. Cornucopia of fruit. They're telling us, even Fruit of the Loom's telling us, there was never a cornucopia. But we see the cornucopia and we see the difference. Which one do you think is correct? They're telling us it's the one on the right. No cornucopia. I'm telling you it's the one on the left. And I can prove that to you. It's already been proven. So I'm going to show you this little video clip here of this gentleman who has certain things that he stashed away in a safe that are all connected to the Mandela Effect. And it's showing us, and he's going to show us, something completely different than what history is telling us, including the Fruit of a Loom. Check this out.
Hold on, let me find the tag on these. If you guys can see the cornucopia.
Yeah, so there's the cornucopia.
Yeah. There it is, folks.
Bears. Not Berenstain Bears. Berenstein. It's an actual book.
There we have it, the Berenstein Bears. He shows the book, and I bet you there's many more of those books tucked away in attics and in storage bins waiting to be discovered. I remember very clearly watching the movie Shazam. Watching the movie Shazam with, of course, Sinbad. I remember the kids in the attic, and actually there's even clips of the movie that people found. People found the old VCR tapes. That's how long ago we're dating this back. There had to be a timeline shift that happened sometime after the movie Sinbad, right? There's definitely been a timeline shift. But look, this guy even has a copy of Sinbad in his safe. And there's clips of it. I'll try to find one and put that in here as well.
Shazam, VHS.
I remember growing up in grade school and being told that the Mississippi River was the longest river. Well, now they're telling us it's not. It's the Missouri River. What do you remember? And you remember Risky Business with Tom Cruise? I remember that dance scene that played out, and there were so many parodies of that dance scene done even by The Simpsons and other cartoons. Tom Cruise had sunglasses on. I recall it very clearly when he was singing old-time rock and roll and dancing in his underwear. What do you remember? Because they're telling us that Tom Cruise never wore sunglasses doing that skit on the movie Risky Business. Although The Simpsons did a whole parody of it, and he's wearing the sunglasses in the parody. They all wear the sunglasses in the parody. So what really happened? Did he wear sunglasses? Did he not wear sunglasses? Again, I want to know, what do you recall in the comments? Especially if you're a Gen Xer, but even if you're not, what do you recall? Because the younger generation is going to argue with us and tell us that we're all a bunch of nutcases. That's where this seems to be leading. Again, what do you think? There are so many other Mandela effects, including Tinkerbell and Disney. When Tinkerbell would come flying out and she would put a dot over top of the eye. Well, they're telling us that never happened. She never did that. She never dotted the eye. She just flew across the screen. That was it. And then we have Britney Spears. Remember Britney Spears? I recall it very clearly that when she was singing the song, she had the headpiece on, right? She had the headpiece on. They even had the doll that came with all the accessories. And there's people that still have the doll. But they're telling us, nah, she never had no microphone. She wasn't singing into a little headpiece. That's what they're telling us now. But why are there dolls that people have of Britney Spears that comes with the headpiece? Does that make any sense at all? And there's so many, many more. We have ones revolved around Oscar Mayer. We have the Diary of Anne Frank. We have ones around Mr. Rogers. Forrest Gump, that's a good one. I remember him clearly saying, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Huh? Apparently that's not what he says.
Life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
And I remember saying that all the time, after that movie came out. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Apparently that's not what he said. Apparently it's all changed and it's all shifted. This is pretty shifty and shady, to say the least. And there's so many more. What do you perhaps remember differently that history's showing you that it's changed so clearly? Because it's not just one or two or a small group of people that are remembering these things differently. It's millions of us. Millions of us, especially in one specific generation, and that's the Gen X. So there had to be some type of a timeline shift that happened in that Gen X days. When do you think that timeline shift happened? Do you think it was in the 80s, early 90s? Do you think there were several? Again, let's chat about this down below in the comments. These may all seem like a bunch of small little details of memories and the way we remember things, yet they disturb people very deeply. And why do so many of us share the same wrong memory? It's pretty bizarre, and there's no coincidences. Ever any coincidences at all. Do you remember hearing the name Max Logan? He was a young man that went viral quite some many years ago. And he is one young thinker who has captivated millions of people with his own view on the Mandela Effect. Again, his name's Max Logan, often called the Kid Genius. You can look him up for yourself. I'll show you a few clips of him today. When he was literally just 13 years old. Max actually claimed that the Mandela Effect could be proof that we've shifted realities. shifted timelines and shifted into a whole new parallel universe. And I believe that's happening consistently. One of the reasons I believe this is because I've always felt for a long time that 2012 was destined to be a World War III nuclear event, and we shifted timelines to prevent that. But in a parallel timeline, I believe that did happen. Maybe some people remember it like that. Maybe people remember that. I don't know. Do you remember that? Again, comments down below. But let's take a little deeper look into Max Logan and this amazing kid genius and what he says this is all related to.
We were moving relative to our universe, and then our universe destroyed, so now the universe started to move, or I guess our parallel universes, our multiverse started to move parallel to us because we were out of alignment and just destroyed everything. So technically, the universe didn't change, we did.
Max suggests that quantum entanglements in energy shifts possibly triggered by the massive scientific experiments that happen at CERN. We talked about CERN on this channel many times, and the connections to the 666s and all kinds of connections to the Luciferians and to those that practice the dark arts, all connected to CERN. And he talked about CERN. And he believes that CERN may have had something to do with these parallel shifts. Listen again to what little Max has to say when he was little, he's not so little anymore, about the shift and about the whole Mandela Effect.
Imagine it like this, right? There's one line, and then a fraction closer, and a fraction smaller is the next line. And then a fraction closer and a fraction smaller is the next line, so on and so on and so on. Till eventually we get this sort of thing. It's a little bit like this. Now, that's infinity in a confined space because there's nothing here or here because this is still there. But what happens when you add a line here? Now, that is actually still infinity because it's still in the same place, but it's not in a confined space, you may say. And considering that there is an infinite number of vibrations and therefore an infinite number of realities within our dimensional space, or I guess alter-dimensional space, considering that they're either higher or lower, still in the same confined space, there is an infinite number of parallel realities with an infinite number of parallel dimensions that actually can create a powerful or less powerful form of God equals MC squared as we know it. Every electron spins, we are infinitely catapulted into an infinite number of parallel universes. And somewhere infinity down the line, here's our universe, right? And then we're constantly shifting into alternate universes as we speak.
Listen to how he explains God and how he explains the different parallel universes. And after you're done listening to him, again, absorb this information and let me know what you think and your opinion is in the comments down below.
Infinite parallel universes constantly being created is literally flow of reality and time as we know it. So, technically, there's a universe in which God can exist, right? So, like, as your book suggests, God is everything because of E equals MC squared. Literally, God is within and can be everything.
Max Logan, at the young age of 13, was so smart that he even came up with a device for free energy. For a long time after this video went viral, people believed that Max disappeared, that they, maybe Clinton'd him or something along those lines. But he didn't disappear. He's still alive and well and much older now. But listen to what he says about creating free energy. A very sore subject for the globalists, for sure.
Everything is just a frequency of energy. All of the energy in the universe is already here. It just needs to be transferred into a form in which you can use it. I had finished creating a device that takes wasted electromagnetic energy from all around us and converts it into electrical. Voila! Free energy.
Max talks about infinite versions of the universe. He talks about in-depth and explains this in a very interesting way. So let's listen a little bit more about what this kid genius had to say about the Mandela Effect.
So the original universe is mirror, mirror on the wall.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Transferred to universe is magic mirror on the wall.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all?
So we are now not in the same universe that we were in when Mirror, Mirror on the Wall was a part of a film.
Well, that's what I'm theorizing, yeah.
So we're in a different universe.
Exactly. Infinite number of zeros, 1% difference.
Right.
And that 1% difference is large on our scale. We made this universe sort of out of balance. And our universe...
Because of the collider, the super collider?
Yeah, we altered the weight of a single electron, which I believe shifted us into a parallel universe. This is our original timeline, right? But as soon as this starts, we are infinitely catapulted into an infinite number of parallel universes. The particle accelerator altered the weight of one electron and therefore destroyed our universe and shifted us into the universe that's directly next to it. There's a fluctuation in our reality of actually things that are real to us but are different in other realities. There's a consistent fluctuation, and I think this fluctuation is known as Mandela.
The overall theory? Quantum interference or parallel universe convergence? Which one is it? It's a bold claim, but it's really possible that that memory glitch that folks are having, millions of folks, are literally the fingerprints of this cosmic update that's happening. And we know we're shifting into the new Earth, to the new Earth nation. We've been talking about it on this channel for a decade. I've been talking about it since I've been talking. And we're shifting into it. It's happening. We see things changing and shifting on the earth in so many amazing ways. Of course, the globalists and the darkness on the planet wants us to focus on that instead of focusing on the amazing things that are actually happening when we shift into these parallel universes. There are many possible causes that can allegedly be explained, so let's explore the leading explanations from the scientific ones to the metaphysical, starting with psychological explanation. Memory is reconstructive. We fill in the gaps with logic and we fill in the gaps with suggestion. So collective repetition amplifies false memories, according to some anyway. Now, there's also number 2, media and misinformation. According to some, the internet spreads misremembered facts, which causes us, internet scrolling and going through all these things, causes us to shift our memories, according to scientists anyway. And then there's Max Logan's domain and his theory, which I will go with his theory more than anything here. The quantum and parallel universes, the multi-universe theory, infinite versions of reality overlapping, glitches that may occur when 2 timelines merge together. This is amazing. Then there's also the simulation theory, the matrix theory. Reality is a digital program. Mandela Effect is just patch updates, codes being put into the matrix, feeding the matrix sometimes with false information or false memories. Many people do believe that we do live in a matrix. There's also the spiritual awakening, the ascension theory. I'll go with this one too, because humanity is definitely moving into higher consciousness. I talk about it all the time on my show. Mandela Effect is a collective awakening. It's basically affecting the collective awakening cues. And it's helping us to awaken in different ways, making us think and look deeper into what's really happening all around us. Whatever the cause, one thing can be certain, friends. The Mandela Effect forces all of us to question the boundaries of our reality. What is reality? And again, do we live in a matrix? Moving into a deep dive here, timeline shifts and the spiritual significance. Could the Mandela Effect be connected to the rise of synchronicities, the prophetic dreams that people are having all over the globe, the energetic awakenings, the ascension codes and light codes coming in from the sun flares? I know myself as a psychic and many other psychics and seers are saying, yes, that's absolutely what's happening. And these are the symptoms of timelines merging. This is what happens when things come together. And things are coming together all around. Whether it's connections like the 1111 and seeing it on the clock and seeing it all the time. People are describing Mandela effects in all different ways. And if the collective consciousness really is shifting, then perhaps our memories are echoes from a previous version of reality. Fragments of the old world that we left behind. Again, I want to know what you think in the comments down below. So what does this all mean for you and for me and for the rest of us? And how can we use this knowledge to help us move forward in this ascension. The Mandela Effect isn't just about trivia. It's about awareness. It's about becoming more open and aware of all the things around us. It's inviting all of us to wake up in new realities, to observe reality as something that's fluid, participatory, and alive. And something that can help us to roll through these shifts is to maybe keep a reality journal. Notes of these shifts and odd memories that you may be experiencing. Always, of course, stay grounded and meditate. Emotional resonance is going to help shape your perception. Meditation will help with that. Remember to question everything. As Spirit told me a long time ago, nothing is as it appears to be. Question everything, but do not fear discovery when you discover things. The more consciously we engage in reality, the more stable and luminous our world's going to become. Whether you see the Mandela Effect as a glitch in the matrix, a quantum overlap, or a spiritual awakening, one truth remains, friends. Reality isn't fixed. Reality isn't fixed at all. It's alive, it's evolving, and it's shaped by consciousness. Maybe the real question here today isn't what changed, but why are we suddenly noticing it now, after all this time? And it seems like every day, or at least every week, there's a different Mandela Effect. Something that we're, a large collective of us, a large group of us, millions of us, are remembering differently. Are they playing with our minds on the internet? I don't think so. Again, I believe it's all part of the ascension and shifting timelines and shifting us to the new Earth nation, a wonderful, amazing destination for all of us. I want you to share your memories of your Mandela Effect experiences below, and which memory today truly blew your mind the most. And if there's one I forgot that you want to add into the comments, do that down below as well. And don't forget, please, friends, do hit that like button, the thumbs up love button. It takes a lot of time and effort to put all this content together for you, especially this particular piece. I appreciate that thumbs up. Share it on your social media. I also, of course, am spiritual medium Joseph Tittel. If you want accurate predictions, prophecy, truth, and great content like this, smash the subscribe. Join our awesome tribe. And when you do hit that subscribe, don't forget to hit the bell. Hit the bell and hit all. Because reality might just change again before our next upload. So you're going to want to hit that button. And until the next time, friends, I hope you enjoyed this content. Down below, you'll find the description to my free newsletter, to all my social media platforms, and to the Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community of supporters who help make this free content possible for everybody. Also down below, you can join on the YouTube platform and sign up for the free newsletter. Other than that, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and you enjoyed this edition of the Mandela Effect. Remember, friends, be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine ever so brightly and have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste and much love, friends. Much love.